Have you ever made the most amazing batter and then put it on the griddle too soon when you're making pancakes? You are unlikely to get the results you desire. The pan is just not warm enough. It's like offering your product, service, or idea without giving your prospects any warning. We'll discuss the value of heating the pan and more on this edition of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom. Happy Tuesday.
Good morning, Bob.
Tuesday. New month. Start of a
It
new
is
month.
a new month, February 1st. Absolutely.
New month, new opportunities, new stuff. I like it.
Yes, indeed. There's always, well, it doesn't even have to be a new month. Every new day, every new hour, there are opportunities out there. So, but yes, you are correct. It is the start of the month, which is great. And welcome everyone to today's Antidote. You may be wondering about the introduction. Sounds a lot like we're doing a cooking show. And really, it's just we're doing a case study. And we found a great analogy to go along with sharing that case study. And that is on making pancakes and some of the similarities in making pancakes and offering your product, service, or idea to your prospects, your teams, or your organization. So we'll get to that in just a few moments. But before we do that, good morning and welcome. We hope that you are having a great day and that you're excited about the start of February. And we're glad that you're with us today. As you are listening today, if you're listening to the podcast, please feel free to share it with your friends. You can also rate it, which will help get it out more often. How should they rate it, Bob?
5 stars. 5. I got 5 fingers up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, 4 fingers and a thumb, to be accurate.
Okay. So if you are still listening and you have some thoughts and ideas as we go through our topic today, which is making pancakes, and we're going to be focusing on heating the griddle. We would love for you to share any thoughts or ideas that you might have. You can go to our Ring and Renegades Facebook and do that if you're listening to the podcast. If you are watching us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, or
LinkedIn Live,
we welcome your comments right in the comments. We know that they will not only have an impact on our conversation, they'll also have an impact on others who are listening and maybe just the thing they are looking for. Then at the end of the show, Bob and I will share our one thing. The one thing that we hope will help you maybe today or maybe some other time down the road when you're struggling with how to put out your first pancake and what that looks like, whether that is to prospects, customers, or to your team. So we welcome those ideas as well, and share your one thing in the comments, or you can also go to the Facebook group and share it there as well. So as we do every morning, Bob, let's dive into our celebrations.
Hey, I'm celebrating a good night's sleep because I haven't had very good sleep in a couple weeks. And last night I went to bed around 10 o'clock, and next thing you know, it was 6:45 and my alarm was going off. That's like a record for the last, I don't know, since before Thanksgiving.
Nice.
Yeah. So now I feel over-rested. You ever get a great night's sleep and then you feel sleepy?
Yeah, I guess. Sure.
Yeah.
Although,
that's where I am today because I'm not used to that much sleep.
Something to start getting used to and trying to
I can only hope.
achieve. I like it. It's a good thing always good to celebrate a good night's sleep.
Yes. What are you celebrating?
So I'm going to celebrate the value of conversations. So yesterday, and again, Bob gets jealous when I say this, so I'll apologize to him up front. On Mondays, I have this little group of coaches that we get together and talk. And it ended up just being myself and one other yesterday. And I was able to help her, I think, with a presentation she's doing today, which I think she saw a different way to share what she really wanted to share with the people that she's going to be in front of. So Tina, I hope that you have a great presentation later today. And
Tina.
my celebration is that she helped me look differently at writing my book, because I was sharing, how I feel a little bit like I'm struggling with it, and
She's written a book.
she has written a book. Yes, it's called Teetering. You can get it on out on Amazon. So go take it out. But she has a great perspective on kind of her life and how she was teetering and now has found much more balance. So I would encourage you to go look for that book. She was talking with me a little bit about it, and one of the things that I realized is I think sometimes I feel like I have to write it in sequence, and sometimes like the beginning is hard. But as I was looking at my chapters that I had outlined, there were definitely some chapters that I know would be a lot easier to answer. Like one of the chapters is about the 3 questions that we always talk about. Not that I know I'm going to like sit down and write the whole chapter and it's going to be exactly the way it's going to be in the book. I know though that there is a lot that I can write about that, and I can write about that fairly quickly and fairly easily to at least get something down and feel like I'm making progress. And so the thought about finding those chapters that are seem more easy to write, focus on those, get those done, see the progress, and then dive in. And the other suggestion she had was maybe leaving the house, find another place to go right to where there might be less distractions. And I thought that was two really good suggestions. And, it just reminds me that when we get these things stuck in our head, when we sometimes stop and ask for someone else for a different perspective, we get feedback. So that's my celebration.
Nice.
Yeah. What are renegades celebrating today, Bob?
I think we should celebrate a positive cash flow in our bank account. So we don't think about that often, but it's kind of nice when you have more money in your bank account than your bills. And I have had some months where that is not the case.
As we all have.
And so I'm celebrating the fact that I looked at my account last night at the end of the month and it was in the plus for the month, which was a good thing. That December was not that way. So I think it's worthy of celebration. And I'm sure I'm not alone. I'm sure this is, as we start a new month, people are closing their books for last month and going, how much should I make? How much should I generate? And I'm not saying, you have months that just aren't the best. But when you have those positive months, I think it's something to celebrate, even if it's plus $1. Because you work hard and,
sure.
And there are also times when you have to invest in your company and in your work.
And times when you don't necessarily get paid
correct
at the time that you do the service. So while the month may look like you have less coming in than going out, sometimes that's when the next month turns around and heads the other way, because you're getting paid for work that you had done. So I think so are we celebrating a positive bank account or money management?
Let's celebrate money management. That's better. Yeah.
It's different. It's not.
I hadn't fully hatched the idea. I knew I wanted to talk about yeah.
Well, what I love about it is, and I think the thing about money management is great, especially at the end of the month, is it's great to get a handle on where you're at. And whether it's the end of the month or the beginning of the month, and you at least take the time to go look at it so that you're clear about where you are and what you're trying to accomplish and what the next step is.
And what you have accomplished.
Correct.
I mean, I think that's something to me. I look at the number and go, wow, you generated some revenue last month. Nice job. And in the moment of the day when you're going through things, sometimes it doesn't feel that way.
Well, it's interesting. I think sometimes one of the values is, especially if you're worried about that, is talking to someone else about it. And I think that's, as I was sharing that with my celebration and thinking about what we're celebrating for Renegades, is the value sometimes of talking to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And, if that's something that you're struggling with, if you're working on something, trying to accomplish a dream, achieve a goal, maybe, I think as Bob mentioned yesterday, that this is the time when all those people who came up with great resolutions are slowing down or have given up on it. Sometimes it's talking to someone about it to help you work through, let me just take the next step. And then you can get right back up on the horse and go again. So if that's something that you're struggling with, shoot Bob or I a message. We love having conversations with those, with people about that. And there might be a value in you looking at our Renegade Success Network, where we have conversations with our members about that all the time, including a casual Wednesday check-in and check-up. So it's not even a formal appointment. It's just if people are available at 1 on Wednesdays, they can pop in, talk about where they're at. And then maybe sometimes they find some things about how they can continue to take steps forward. Or you can always, as a member, schedule a laser solution session where we'll help you get through the next step along your own unique pathway to success. So if you like more,
can I add something, Tom?
If you'd like, of course.
I think one of the things that I've seen in our Renegade Success Network with the people in that group, and also in my own interactions in that group, is that it's great to be able to talk to someone who's not part of your day-to-day operations. And
Sure.
So if you tell them, I had a horrible month last night, I'm scared to death, I don't know what I'm going to do, they're not going to go tell 10 people, hey, don't buy something from Tom because he's really struggling. It's an outside party that has no connection to your world. So you can be more open, more free to really talk about what's going on. Because I know for me, I have a lot of friends. I can talk to a lot of friends about a lot of things, but there's certain things about my business that I don't really want them to understand because it would reflect on me. And so I don't talk to them about that. So having an outside person that's not attached to that world really can be valuable at times.
Certainly. And I clearly found that in talking with Tina about the book. As much as you've written a book that you can also get on Amazon if you'd like. Oops, I got to hold it in front of myself. The Renegade Way. And we've talked about it. For whatever reason, something hasn't struck. And having the conversation with her was a different perspective. So if that's something.
Now I'm going to cry. I'm so fragile. Go ahead, Tom.
All right, everyone. So now let's dive into our topic a little bit. We are talking about making pancakes. It's not really about making pancakes.
It's not?
Well, you thought yesterday was waffles. So
yeah, I missed the boat.
I don't know what's going on there.
Or
It's
the
really
buffet.
about those first time you put something out there. You try to create something. And, it's something that's scary, frightening. And talking about it as pancakes is not as scary. And yet, many of the challenges that come along with making pancakes are ones that we see in offering a service or a product or an idea for the first time. Yesterday we talked about making the batter and how you make the perfect batter. So today, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about making sure you're heating the griddle. And it's not really the pan, but it's if you don't have your clients, your customers, your boss, your team prepared, that you have an idea that something is coming, you are going to catch them off guard. And catching people off guard is usually not the most effective way to help them see the value of what you're offering and be prepared to take advantage of it. And so just like if you put the most amazing batter of pancakes on a cold griddle that's slowly warming up, you're not likely to get the results that you desire. And so you have to go back and really think. And sometimes you can even think that you have done it, and then you think that you put your hand over it, it feels like it's really warm, and it's still not quite ready. And I think that's just a great analogy for the things that we offer. We put things out there and think that people know, because maybe we've talked about it, maybe we've done some social media posts, maybe we've called a few people, and yet have we really warmed up the griddle for them, which is our prospects, for the most effective way to share with them your idea? What do you think about that, Bob?
Well, I think what we're really asking people when we create something new, whether it's product or service, is we're asking people to consider change. And most of us are resistant to change. It's easier to do the same thing we've always done, because when you go into a situation where there's change, you run the risk of it not working. You look bad. It costs you more. It totally upsets everything that you're doing. And so we tend to resist change. So when you go into the marketplace or into your team and say, hey, I have this idea, we should do it this way, you're asking them to consider a change. And so it takes some time to get people comfortable with the change. I talked to someone a couple weeks ago who told me that they only buy gasoline from one company, and that company's gas stations are being bought by another company. And so they are driving out of their way to go to this gas station to buy the gasoline from this company. And I was like, why don't you just change? And there's a place right down the street from your office you could get gas. There's a place right down the street from your home where you could get gas. And they were resistant to that. I've done it this way since I started to drive, which was like 25, 30 years ago. So here I'm proposing what to me is a very minimal change that's going to save them time and effort. But they were committed to this thing they've always done because of the fear that doing it differently. What if it's not as good fuel? What if it messes up my gas line? What if it messes up my engine? This car's kind of old. They gave me all the excuses not to try it. So they were willing to inconvenience themselves. And I think that's another great metaphor for what we do. When we go into the marketplace, we think we have this great idea. But most people are like that person who buys gas from the same gas station. They don't want to change. You haven't given them a compelling enough reason, or you haven't made it clear to them that you'll help them through the change. And I think that's one of the things about setting things up for a new product or service or ideas. You've got to help people understand the whole idea that I understand this is a change. As you go through this change, I'm there with you every step of the way. That's why you see companies, what do they do if you buy something from a company that you have to assemble? What do they tell you? Don't take it back if it's missing parts. Don't take it back if you're having trouble. Call our 800 number and we'll talk you through it. They know it's a change. I've never built a book cabinet. Now I'm building a book cabinet and they want to make sure I'm successful. And I don't think we do that enough in our lives to help people understand, one, where the change comes from, that we didn't just throw this up in the air. This came from a lot of discussions. This has been the manifestation of great ideas and thought. And we've also talked to customers like you, and we've done our research. I think when people don't do their research, it becomes difficult. They just have this idea. Well, I think we should go to a different gas station. It's closer. But I knew some information about gas stations. I knew where they all get their gasoline. And when I said to the person, I hate to tell you, but there's about 98% chance that it's the same gasoline going into your vehicle, no matter where you go in the Baltimore area. They were like, no, this is a brand. I said, and next time you see the truck putting gas in the tank, look at what that company on the side is, because it's the same one across the street at the no-name brand.
Sure. Well, it's interesting because I think so often we're not prepared for change. It would be interesting if that fuel distributor had done some sharing, not that that's their role because they leave it up to the individual stations to promote that. But if someone else had known that, okay, that store is being bought up by someone, we get the gas from the same place. What a great marketing ad to say, hey, I know for all you people who used to get your gas at X station, come across the street because actually the gas is exactly the same. And the price may or may not be the same, but you can still get the same gas in a convenient location without worrying about it. And I think that's, one of the challenges, and it's about planning, right? It's about how do we know and understand what's coming or what we're trying to do and make sure that others know and understand that. And that's why I love the griddle analogy. It's like, if you go and just make batter and don't put your griddle or your pan on a flame or on heat, you're not really prepared to put the batter in the pan. So if you haven't, and the challenge and the beauty of that too is there is a point where like, okay, it's ready. The griddle is hot enough. It's going to be prepared. Doesn't have to be 8 million degrees. It just has to be at a certain level where it's hot enough. So I think the challenge is sometimes people are so worried about that change or worried about, is it ready? Is the griddle ready? Are my clients, are my team, is my organization ready to hear this? That they don't act. And I think sometimes that is as ineffective as just acting without it. And so it doesn't have to be the perfect temperature because there is none. It just has to make sure that it is warm enough that will launch what we're doing. And so I think that that's just interesting, is that if you are not sharing with your customers or clients that this is coming, they're not likely going to be prepared for it, and not maybe, especially if they are really looking for this solution, they're going to be searching for it and they'll see it and they'll be waiting for it to come out. There was a great quote that
this is from Danny. I just checked. It's
from is from Danny. Excellent.
Yeah.
And the quote is by Peter Senge, I think is how you pronounce his name, is that people don't resist change, they resist being changed. I think that's a really, what I love about that is that makes it personal. And it makes it so that we can't introduce change and expect that everyone's going to accept it the same way. It's going to be different because they don't want to be changed. So I think that
I don't think people want to be told that they have to change. We're much more inclined to want to adapt to something and find the change in our own time. How many times have you, I'll give an example from this morning. What Tina suggested to you yesterday, I had heard other people say to you.
Sure. No doubt.
And it was just, that was the day you heard it with the ears that you could say, oh, hey, these are really great suggestions. I think that's how we are in life. We get told the same thing over and over and over. We don't hear it until the day that, for whatever reason, it's like poof. That's
right. Or we've heard it enough. We've heard it enough, and now it becomes it resonates.
So all those people had said to us, here's a way you can change, here's a way you can change. And suddenly there's that day where you go, hey, you know what? I'm ready to confront this. I'm going to take on this change. You're willing now to go out to another place and work on your book for whatever reason. And I think that's the challenge of when we have a new product or service or idea that we want to put in front of people, they have to be ready for it. And we have no idea what's going on in their head. We just can't know.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think the reason I was ready to hear that yesterday was yesterday morning we had a conversation about organizing our day and focusing on priorities. We also had a conversation, and I was talking with someone about networking, and leaving the house and the disruption of leaving the house and then coming back and trying to pick up again. And I think that the whole idea of me going somewhere else to work on my book seemed like a disruption until I started to factor in, well, what if I planned my day around I'm going to go work on my book somewhere, ready to go to the gym right after that. Or I go visit the chiropractor occasionally, and I would plan to do that and then do something else, or meet someone for lunch, so that there was more intention. And because I was thinking about that, this idea of, well, you could do that with your working on your book kind of fit into the puzzle. And so I think that to me is an interesting talking about how I was now ready to hear this other idea that I had probably heard a number of times. I'm sure you shared it with me.
And I mean, that's but that's a great example of the reality, right? We think that we're going to go to a networking event. We think we're going to send one email. We think we're going to put one social media post saying, hey, check out our new website, check out our new product, check out our new service, go to our new podcast, go to this. The reality is people aren't going to hear that the first time. They might not hear it the 20th time. It might be the 87th time that it comes up. I remember when I started my first marketing company, the moment that I was so excited was 18 months after I'd started the company, and I went networking all over the place. I went to a networking meeting of a new group, and I said my name, hi, I'm Bob Graham. It's like, you're Bigger Pie Strategies. I was like, what? He's like, I've heard about you. I was like, yes. 18 monts.
And it takes time.
And what was funny was when I asked him what he heard, it wasn't even what I wanted him to hear.
We hear what we want to hear.
But that's the reality, right?
Absolutely.
And we don't give space to that. We don't acknowledge that up front. That's why you see companies like Geico. How many 15 minutes to get new insurance ads have you seen over the last 20 years? 4 bajillion.
Sure.
because there's going to be a day when you need insurance and Geico wants to be there that day. And they don't know when that day is. That might be tomorrow, today, or it might be next Tuesday. And if they can have an ad in front of you on that day, you might go, hey, you know what? I'm going to call Geico. We all don't have that luxury to spend billions of dollars on advertising, but we can certainly be consistent with our message and constantly express the same thing so that people start to understand it. And it becomes, oh, you're the guy that does that thing.
Right. So I'm going to ask you to think about your one thing while because I wanted to share this. I think, it's interesting. People are probably wondering, like, why are you talking about a pancake and a griddle? And why are you on this topic? And what I didn't mention at the start, and I think we did yesterday, is that what we're trying to do is have a conversation of an experience that we have. We launched an app that called the Renegade Success Network to help people figure out their next steps. And what we wanted to do was share that experience. And for us, it really was, and it was an analogy that the guy who kind of led some coaching around that used, was making a pancake. So we're sort of stating how that was the case for us. Passion Dan is his name, so make sure we give him full credit for the concept. And we just thought it was a great concept that it relates to where you're at. And I know there are a lot of people who it's the start of the year still, right? We're still at the beginning of the year who are thinking about new ideas, new products, all of those things. And so as you are considering that, these are just some things we thought would be really helpful as you prepare to make your first pancake.
Danny says to us, digging the griddle analogy big time.
Yeah, well, it's a really, and I think you'll find tomorrow's topic interesting as well when we talk about that first pancake a little more deeply. So we hope that you will all join us then. So Bob, what's your one thing today about making pancakes and heating the griddle?
I think it's about getting the message out to people consistently and constantly. When you get tired of saying the same thing to people, that's probably when you need to say it even more. Which I'm the first one to, I've told everyone, I've said this at AD networking events. I'm so tired of saying the same thing. It might be the 81st time you say it that someone's ready to hear it.
And there might have been one person who was at all 80 of those. And at the 81st is finally like, oh, wait, they're paying attention. Other things have aligned where this is now. They're like, this might make sense. Yeah. I like that. I'm going to go with the sort of the other side of that is, I don't know, it's the other side of it. Don't feel like the griddle has to be 1,000,000 degrees. Then that slows you down, waiting and waiting and waiting for the perfect temperature. I think at some point we need to make sure that it's warm. Our clients, our customers, our teams, our organization understand that this is coming. And at some point, if we don't ever share that with them, they will never benefit. And there likely are people out there who we have shared it with who can't wait for it to happen because they desperately need that. Have you ever have shared an idea with your team and there are team members like, well, can we do this right now? Why do we have to wait a week or 2 weeks to let it settle in? I love this. So don't worry about that griddle being 1,000,000 degrees. Get it warm, get your message and information out there, and then share what your product, service, or idea is. So people will have time to understand it. And those who understood the first time won't lose interest and move forward.
Nice. I like that. That's some chunky one things today.
Absolutely. Why not? Not chunky pancakes.
Not chunky pancakes. Although sometimes chunky pancakes are good. I like them with apple slices in them.
Then they would be chunky. Yeah.
Although you wouldn't, because you don't like fruit in anything.
I didn't say that. Now you're turning my words around. I don't consider fruit a dessert. That's it.
Okay. All right.
That is it. That's it.
Right.
I mean, I'm not a huge fan of anything warmed up fruit, yet I would never discount it. Like, I wouldn't say that's not a meal. I would just say, or fruit in a salad. That's okay.
Okay.
Just don't call it a dessert with fruit in it. That's all I'm saying. All right, everyone. If you have your one thing that you'd like to share, your antidote around making pancakes and heating the griddle, or about making sure that you've got your information out there and so that your clients are prepared for it. We'd love to hear it. Please share it in the comments. You can also go into the Ring of Renegades Facebook group and share your one thing, because we know in that group there likely is someone who's looking exactly for the information that you're going to provide. So, and if for some reason you are not yet a member of our Ring of Renegades Facebook group, it's easy to join. Just go to Facebook, search for Ring of Renegades. Then you just have to ask to join, because it is a private group, so that we can create a space where people can feel comfortable sharing their one thing and not worrying how people react. They're sharing it because they know that the value they add, somebody out there is desperately looking for it. And if you really want to gain all of our Renegade Success Network stuff in one place, you can download our app.
No way.
You actually can, at the Apple App Store or at Google Play. It's called Renegade Success Network. Just download it, and then you can have access to all the things that we offer and a few things more that you may not have been aware of, because we put it out there to sort of see what it was. And it's possible that the griddle wasn't as warm as it could have been.
There's also a really great section there I was watching yesterday about, are you a renegade?
Absolutely.
That we talk about renegades all the time, but that's a really great place. If you're trying to figure out this whole renegade thing, pop that app on your phone, hit the Are You a Renegade? You will have clarity.
And you want to know a cool moment I had the other day?
What's
I was
that?
talking to my son because he was looking for some feedback on something, advice. And he's like, I happen to be, sometimes I catch your show and I happen to be listening.
Wow.
I know. How about that? He says, well, I
No pressure.
I get to work at this time and the students don't show up until whatever. And so sometimes I listen to it. And he said, I was listening to your 500th episode and I heard you say you had an app. And he was like, wait, what? He's like, I can't believe you have an app. And that made my day. So
That makes it all worth it.
there is no doubt. Now, do you think he's downloaded it?
Of course
Like,
not.
Anyhow, that doesn't mean that you folks, just because a 22-year-old doesn't yet find value in it, there's plenty of value in there. So we hope that you will go check it out and go from there. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for being a part of our show today. We hope that we will see you inside our Ring of Renegades Facebook group, or we'll maybe check you out on the app. We'll see what's going on there. If not, we will see you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, for our next edition of today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, embrace the renegading you. It's worth it. Go for it. You renegade you.
And do you want them to focus in the beginning of the month? Think about managing your money.
No, I wanted to keep it to the whole renegade thing.
Okay, fair enough. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Thanks for listening to today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.